You probably think you're just tired. Maybe you didn't sleep well. Maybe it's your crazy schedule or the fact you haven't had enough coffee. That would make sense, right? But what if I told you that the kind of tired you're feeling isn't really about energy at all? It's not your body that's tired. It's your soul. It's your heart. It's emotional exhaustion, not physical. You're carrying a lot more than anyone can see. You're constantly trying to prove yourself. You feel the pressure to be something, to become someone. You worry about letting people down, and you carry all that in silence. No one ever asks why you're so drained, because to them, you seem fine. But deep down, you're running on empty. You're not just tired, you're overwhelmed. Your nervous system is always on high alert. Even when everything around you seems calm, inside you're bracing yourself for something to go wrong, for someone to get upset, for the other shoe to drop. And that tired feeling you can't shake? That's your body quietly begging you to let go of everything you've been holding inside for far too long. Here's the tricky part. This weight, this stress, it's become normal to you. You carry it so well that even you forget it's there sometimes. You get through the day even though you feel drained before lunch. You smile when people expect you to. You show up, get things done, keep everything moving, while something inside you is slowly falling apart. But here's the truth. You're not exhausted because of what you're doing. You're exhausted because of what you're holding. You're holding emotions you never got the chance to express. You're carrying the weight of other people's feelings while ignoring your own. You're trying to be okay all the time, even when you're not. You're always anticipating problems, trying to fix everything, managing not only your life, but how others see you in it. And that kind of burden, rest doesn't fix it. You could sleep 8 hours and still wake up exhausted. Why? Because your mind never shut off, because you clenched your jaw in your sleep. Your muscles were still tense, your nervous system was still on guard. And the wild thing is, you've probably been doing this for so long that you don't even realize it. You call it being productive, being reliable, being prepared, but really, it's survival mode. And you've been living like this for so long, you've forgotten you can actually put the weight down. This isn't about being lazy. It's not about giving up. It's about finally seeing the quiet battle you've been fighting inside yourself every single day. You've been carrying feelings you never processed, identities you never chose, expectations that were never yours to fulfill. That's why you feel so tired, not just in your body, but in your soul. Here's what no one tells you. The longer you carry things that aren't yours, the more you start to believe they are. You become the dependable one, the calm one, the one who understands, the one who fixes everything and keeps everyone happy. It becomes a part of your identity, not because you wanted it, but because it felt safer that way. But that safety comes at a price. Not just burnout, but the slow fading of who you really are. The part of you that laughs without overthinking it. The part of you that rests without guilt. The part of you that asks for help and says no without apology. When you care too much, when you hold too much, it doesn't just exhaust you, it shrinks you. Not your body, your spirit. You slowly pull away from the things you used to love, not because you don't care anymore, but because you just don't have the capacity. You're too busy surviving, too weighed down, too full of invisible responsibilities to enjoy the moment you are in. And people don't notice because you're still functioning, still performing, still putting on the strong face. But inside, you're running on pressure, habit, and fear. Not peace, not joy, just the fear of what might happen if you finally stop holding it all together. But here's the reality. You can't keep carrying everything. You were never meant to hold everyone's pain just to make them more comfortable. You weren't made to bury your own feelings just because you're strong enough to hide them. The more you carry, the further you drift from yourself, until one day you can't tell what's actually you and what's just the weight you've picked up along the way. This kind of collapse doesn't make a sound. It doesn't happen in one big breakdown. It shows up in the small moments, when you can't relax, when your breath feels shallow, when you can't remember the last time you felt light, not happy, just light. And then, one day, something inside you shifts. You start putting it down, not all of it, not right away, but a little at a time. Maybe it's the pressure to always explain how you feel. Maybe it's the guilt that creeps in every time you say no. Maybe it's the endless checklist you run through before giving yourself permission to rest. You catch yourself about to carry the same old weight. But this time, you pause and you ask, what if I didn't? What if you stopped cushioning other people's discomfort with your silence? What if you stopped trying to protect everyone's feelings at the cost of your own peace? What if, You stopped pretending to be okay when you're not, and when you finally stop, something begins to change. Your breath gets deeper, your thoughts slow down, your shoulders relax. You're not scanning the room for problems. You're not preparing for emotional escape routes. You're just here, not totally healed, not completely free, but not piling on more weight either. And that's where it begins. Not with closure, not with solutions, not with perfect answers, but with the simple truth that you don't have to carry the whole story anymore. You don't have to over-explain your pain. You don't have to hold the emotional weight of how others see you. Letting go doesn't mean you're weak. It's not giving up. It means you're finally choosing to stop giving energy to what drains you. It's deciding that you're allowed to exist without managing everyone else's comfort. Your worth isn't measured by how much pain you can carry in silence. And sure, it won't be instant. You'll still feel the urge to hold on, to stay strong, to keep pushing. But now you know there's another way. Every time you choose to release instead of control, every time you choose softness over pressure, every time you choose rest over performance, you reclaim a part of yourself, not the version of you that's built on being tough, the real you, the one that never needed to harden in the first place. As you start letting go, something inside starts to shift. You move through life differently. Your energy softens. Your reactions slow down. You stop explaining yourself to people who don't care to understand. You stop trying to decode silence. You stop filling every gap with noise just to feel safe. You start walking slower, talking slower, breathing deeper. Your nervous system finally gets the message. We're safe now. You begin to see just how much effort you used to give to things that never gave anything back. How your identity was built around being the one who never needed anything. And now you're not trying to be impressive. You're trying to be real. You don't care if your softness is misunderstood. You stop chasing certainty. You stop trying to make everything make sense. You just let things be, even when it's messy, even when you don't have the answers. And in that space, you feel something you haven't felt in a long time. Space. Real space. In your body, in your mind, in your day. Space that used to be filled with tension, worry, and performance. You're no longer scared of the quiet. Now, the quiet feels like coming home. And in that space, your energy changes. People can feel it, even if they can't explain it. You're no longer trying to find peace. You are peace. Not because life is perfect, but because you're not adding pressure to it anymore. You're not feeling guilty for resting. You're not apologizing for setting boundaries. You're not explaining your healing to people who never cared about your pain. You're just living, not in reaction, in rhythm, not in fear, in truth. And once you feel that lightness, even for a moment, you realize this is what you were missing all along. Not motivation, not more strength, but permission. Permission to stop carrying what was never yours. And once your energy softens, your voice returns. Not the polished one, not the one that's filtered through politeness. The real one, the voice that says, I don't have space for this anymore, and doesn't feel guilty. The voice that says, this doesn't feel like me, and trusts that's enough reason to walk away. It's a voice you haven't heard in a while, maybe because you were taught to be easy, to be agreeable, to make everything comfortable for others. But now you're learning. Not everything heavy belongs to you. Not every feeling is yours to fix. Your voice isn't selfish, it's sacred, and you start saying what you mean, not to hurt anyone. But because your feelings matter, you start setting boundaries, not to push people out, but to keep yourself from disappearing. You stop explaining why you need rest, why you're overwhelmed, why you feel how you feel. And then something even bigger happens. You start trusting yourself again, not because you have all the answers, but because you finally understand. You don't need them. You stop turning healing into another performance. You stop treating every choice like it might break you. You start choosing slowness, not because you're lost, but because you're listening. You say no, not because you're cold, but because you finally matter to yourself. You stop asking for permission to be whole, and slowly you stop dragging your past everywhere. You stop shrinking your needs, and in all that release, you finally feel free. Not because you ran away, but because you stopped gripping what you were never meant to hold. And the most surprising thing, you stop rushing. You're not sprinting towards some perfect future. You're not racing through the day trying to earn rest. You're not afraid of stillness anymore, because in that stillness, you remember who you are. And suddenly life feels different. You're not editing yourself to be liked. You're not forcing joy. You're just letting what's real be real. You start choosing what feels right, not what looks right. You stop saying yes out of guilt, and you don't feel like you're falling behind anymore. You feel like you're finally arriving in your own life, not the one built for everyone else, but the one that actually fits you. You stop chasing empty goals. You stop waiting for a perfect moment. You start noticing beauty again. You stop fixing yourself. You start feeling yourself. You finally understand rest isn't failure, it's freedom. You're not trying to prove you're okay, you just are. Even when life's messy, even when you're unsure. And maybe this was the whole point all along. Not to become stronger by holding more, but to become lighter by letting go. You don't have to figure it all out today. You don't have to carry what was never yours. If even one part of this made something inside you soften, comment, "I'm putting it down." No explanation, just that. A quiet decision to finally let it go. And if you want more of this kind of peace, space, and truth, subscribe. I'll be here, not to push you, but to remind you you're allowed to rest. You're allowed to feel light again. You're allowed to be free.